Here at 9 to 5 Google, we have been spending a ton of time with the Pixel 9 Pro and 9 Pro XL, and yes, while we love trying out the latest from Google, last year's Pixel 8 Pro might still be a better option for some, especially since the price is starting to come down into the 500s on the used market, which almost puts it in budget territory. If you're someone that might be considering a Pro level device, then this video was definitely for you, as we're going to compare the newest Pro models against last year's 8 Pro to see which one is a better fit for your needs. But first, a quick word from our channel sponsor.
So I've just unboxed my beautiful Pixel 9, but I really need some protection. I need MagSafe, extra grip, and maybe even a little customization. Well, I guess that's where channel sponsor Dbrand fits in nicely. The latest range of Dbrand grip cases fulfills all of your requirements. Grippy? Check. Soft inner layer to stop scratching of your phone? Check. Ultra precise cutouts for all of the ports and peak holes? Check. Textured buttons? Check. Protective screen lip? Check. Customizable with Dbrand's official lineup? That's a big check as well. Dbrand even added MagSafe because Google couldn't be bothered. Don't like cases? Well, slap a skin on that thing. Super sleek, looks great, doesn't add any bulk. I mean, you don't want to leave your screen unprotected, so why don't you get a super precise Dbrand tempered glass screen protector? Fits like a glove and stops scratches above a level 6 and even plays nicely with all cases. Get protected with your phone, your Pixel 9 or any other Pixel for that matter, using the link down in the description below.
The biggest shift in Google's strategy for their Pro phones this year is the introduction of two distinct sizes. The standard 9 Pro with a 6.3-inch display size and the larger Pixel 9 Pro XL with a 6.8-inch display size. Thankfully, both models offer the same feature set and internal hardware, including the same Tensor G4 chip, identical camera layout and specs, the same 16 gigs of RAM, and very similar design elements. The only difference between the XL model is the larger screen, bigger battery, and faster charging, not only taking advantage of the larger size, but also including a bit more utility for power users. By comparison, the Pixel 8 Pro only has one option to pick from, being the 6.7-inch display size, so if you're planning on saving money getting last year's model, you better be okay with a larger screen. Then there is that new design I mentioned earlier, as the 9 series has all flat edges and a standalone camera bump. No doubt, it feels incredibly solid, looks more refined, at least in my opinion, and feels more dense compared to the 8 Pro's curvier, lighter feeling build. I will say though, the 9 Pro XL is kind of unwieldy in the hand, as that boxy shape isn't as ergonomic, where the 8 Pro fits pretty comfortably in the palm of your hand thanks to those rounded corners. Also, this is a less important issue, but the color choices this year are a bit depressing to say the least. All of the 9 Pro devices have these low-key, somewhat kinda forgettable color options unless you're into pink or maybe the hazel, although I will say the white does look good as well. Whereas the 8 Pro had that beautiful bay blue color and later a limited edition mint option. Fingers crossed Google does something similar this year and releases a new color at some point in the life cycle, but I wish we'd have had something more at launch. A minor issue, but I just wanted to mention it. Moving on, let's talk about the display experience as a whole, and I know I talked about some of this earlier, so we can just cover it real quick. As I said, Google is giving us options this year for those wanting a Pro level device. The regular 9 Pro gets a respectable 6.3-inch display, which I consider to be compact in this day and age, while the 9 Pro XL goes for a massive 6.8-inch display. Both use that LTPO OLED technology, run at a super smooth 120Hz, and can both reach 3000 nits peak brightness. While the 8 Pro is somewhat in between those two devices at 6.7 inches, also has that LTPO OLED tech at 120Hz, but maxes out at a slightly dimmer 2400 nits peak brightness. In my experience, that extra brightness on the 9 series does make a difference outdoors, as it does a better job cutting through the harsh sunlight, making the viewing experience a bit better, but honestly, the 8 Pro's display is still a great panel regardless, and will mostly be on par for anything else like content consumption, gaming, reading, browsing the web. Basically, whatever you're doing, you won't be missing out too much going with the 8 Pro versus the 9 Pros. Since we're on the topic of displays, I felt it was relevant to talk about the under-display fingerprint scanner, as this is a major difference between the two generations of devices. The 9 series finally got a major upgrade in this area with the ultrasonic sensor, retiring that sorry, sad optical sensor that many Pixel fans, including myself, have been complaining about for quite a while. I'm going on 2 weeks of usage at this point, and this new fingerprint scanner is super fast, very accurate, and doesn't use that annoying bright flash method that optical sensors need to work well. The 8 Pro by comparison does have that optical sensor of course, and don't get me wrong, it's fine, but clearly less reliable, and you will find yourself relying on the face unlock much more often. One last thing I wanted to mention regarding the displays is the selfie camera placement. I touched on it a bit in my 9 Pro review, but the 9 series as a whole has a huge cutout and it's way low down, practically touching the status bar and almost dipping into the content. I didn't notice it until my senior editor pointed it out to me, and now I absolutely cannot unsee it, and if I have to look at it, you have to look at it as well. Compared to the 8 Pro, it keeps that selfie camera centered in the status bar and just makes a cleaner look. However, it has no impact to the actual usability, so you might not be bothered much, if at all. At the end of the day, if you want the brightest possible panel and the best fingerprint experience Google has to offer, the 9 Pro will better suit your needs. But if you're on a budget and you don't mind the slightly dimmer display, the 8 Pro is still a great option as well. Now let's dive into the software, and yes, while the 9 Pros have a ton of new features that are fun to play around with, I have a strong feeling we will see a large majority make its way to the 8 Pro. To be clear, this is just speculation and I wouldn't buy the 8 Pro based on what features it may get in the future. I'm just sharing some of my perspective on the matter. So if the 8 Pro ends up not getting some of these features, don't come back to this video. I told you this is just speculation. Out of the massive feature suite Google announced for the 9 series, I think anything that uses Gemini Nano or is cloud-based to some degree will get backported eventually. Things like pixel weather, pixel screenshots, as long as the G3 can handle the multimodality, reimagined through Magic Editor, and call notes are all features that seem likely to make its way over, at least in my opinion. Pixel Studio I'm 50-50 about. On one hand, Google emphasizes the Tensor G4 chip makes this happen, but since it's also partially cloud-based, I wouldn't necessarily count it out for the future. But something like Add Me, for example, I think will be exclusive to the 9 series since Google doesn't typically backport camera features. Concerning updates, I wouldn't worry too much as the Pixel 8 Pro still has another 6 years of updates up to Android 20, I believe, which is more than enough for most people, while the 9 series gets an extra year up to Android 21. Truthfully, most of you will probably get upgrades well before we get there anyway, so I don't think you're taking on too much risk going for either the 8 Pro or the 9 Pro. Battery life is another area we should break down for you real quick. The 8 Pro packs a 5050 mAh battery, the 9 Pro has a 4700 mAh battery, and the 9 Pro XL boasts the biggest battery by a very tiny amount at 5060 mAh. That means the 8 Pro and 9 Pro XL are effectively on par in terms of size, but the XL does benefit with a faster 37-watt charging system compared to 30 watts on the 8 Pro. This change, Google says, allows the 9 Pro XL to reach 70% in 30 minutes versus 50% in 30 on the 8 Pro. Real-world battery life is always tricky to convey as everyone uses their phone differently, but from what I've seen, the 9 Pro XL is the best device out of the 3 for longevity, easily hitting 8 hours of on-screen time, even with a mix of Wi-Fi and data. The regular 9 Pro can last a full day if you're careful, but I've been averaging around 5 to 6 with my usual mix of activities, again, both equal parts on Wi-Fi and data. The 8 Pro, with its less efficient G3 and modem, is the most inconsistent, I'd say. On Wi-Fi, sure, you can easily hit 6 to 7 hours, but on data and using GPS, this is maybe a 4-hour device at best. Again, in my opinion. Bottom line, and massively oversimplifying here, the Pixel 9 Pro XL is the best for battery with no question about it. But if you're mostly on Wi-Fi and want to save some money, the 8 Pro is a solid choice, whereas the regular 9 Pro battery is decent, but heavy users might want to consider the XL or understand it might be worth keeping a charger nearby. Funny enough, the camera is the area where you get the fewest compromises no matter which pixel you pick. We already talked about AI features earlier, but hardware-wise, you really can't go wrong either way. All 3 phones have the same rear triple camera setup, a 50 megapixel wide-angle lens, a 48 megapixel ultra-wide, and a 48 megapixel telephoto. Honestly, the difference in image quality between the 8 Pro and the 9 series is barely noticeable. Maybe some slightly punchier colors on the 8 series and maybe a little bit better scatter of highlights and shadows on the 9, but nothing too crazy that would tilt the scales for me in one direction or the other. The main advantage you get from going with the 9 Pros is 8K video recording with video boost, which is great, and the high resolution 42 megapixel front-facing selfie camera. So if camera performance is your top priority, like I said, you can't go wrong with either of these. The 9 Pro has a few benefits, but the 8 Pro is still fantastic in its own right. Price-wise, at the time of this review, the 8 Pro is still less than a year old, crazy enough, and checking on the used market now that the 9 is out, you can get one for less than $600 US, which I think is the fastest I've seen the price drop for a flagship device. And if you want something new, Amazon does sales often around the $750 mark, but during the holidays, I'm pretty confident you'll be able to get it for significantly less than that. So if you're thinking about what to get, I can break it down pretty easily at this point. The 9 Pro is for those that want the latest in AI features, desperately want that new design, are unhappy with the optical fingerprint scanner on the 8 series, and in the case of the XL, want faster charging, where the 8 Pro still has a ton of benefits to offer. Of course, the price will only keep going down from here. The camera is excellent. It's still super smooth performance-wise and has many years of updates ahead of itself. Yes, it does feature last year's design, which might not be a big deal to some. Yes, the Tensor G3 is not the fastest chip on the market, and yes, data performance is lacking a little bit, but if you're not that concerned, grabbing an 8 Pro for cheap might work perfectly for a lot of people. That said, leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on this video as a whole, and if you're considering the 8 Pro versus the 9 Pro, please tell us what you're thinking, as myself and the whole Android community would love to know. In the meantime, my friends, I'm getting out of here, but before I do, huge shout out to our channel members on screen right now. Thank you so much for being part of the 9to5 Google community and supporting our work as we do our best to bring you the best Pixel coverage we possibly can. That said, this has been Jordan Floyd with 9to5 Google. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.